Well, I stopped. Now I have to edit a video, unfortunately. I prefer to just shoot them all in one shot and not do any editing. But there I go. Now I'm going to do some editing. I'm going to take some of this double-sided sticky tape. Hopefully I can get this to hold it secure enough for the rest of this print. Don't fall off. Don't fall off. My double-sided sticky tape. Why did it not cut through? I don't understand what happened there. There it goes. Now I'm going to put this on this. Ow. And pull the backing off. I'm going to pull the backing off. This is a tricky backing. I'm going to stick that right to there. And I think that should stay nice. I'm going to adjust it a little bit. All right. That should last the rest of the sprint. Okay. So I have as I was saying, I had this giant Trans X3, and I converted it to electric bike with a Bafang BBS HD. So Bafang is a Chinese e-bike motor company that has an excellent reputation for excellent kits, and it was sort of the go-to. Anybody with a mid-drive, mass market mid-drive, was using the Bafang and was generally very happy with it. The Bafangs, there were a few different sizes, and so I got the BBS HD, which was the biggest one that bolts into a standard bike frame, and had a lot of fun with that for a few years. But I don't know, 2,000-3,000 miles on it, whatever I did. And I was definitely wearing some things out. And then the bike being a 2009 had some limitations in that primarily the shock bolt size really was the killer. The newer bikes have a larger pair of shock bolts. This older bike, just about perfect bike for e-bike conversion, because you got plenty of room in the frame for the way the shock's situated. You got plenty of room in the frame for the battery. Excuse me. And but the shock bolt, I'm not a small guy. I'm down to like 220 now because hockey season just ended. But when I broke the shock bolt, the upper shock bolt, I was probably 235. Plus, probably had a bunch of beer in my backpack and tools and whatever else. And so I was probably, this bike is made to be, the bike probably weighed 40 pounds before the electric bike conversion, 35 pounds, whatever. And after the bike conversion and carrying the charger and a tool pack and whatever else, I weighed the bike at like 75 pounds. And then and then plus my 235, then plus whatever gear. So say easy 250, 260 plus another 35, 40 on the bike. So basically 300 pounds on this bike plus extra power and me off-roading on it regularly. Eventually broke that shock bolt and crashed the shock into something and destroyed the shock, which is unfortunate. Fox shock, not cheap. And worse, it's an older design and it's hard to find that shock. I was able to find a spare entire bike that was a lower level of the same bike. It had RockShox suspension instead of Fox suspension, but I swapped that shock over to this bike, and now I have a spare frame and entire parts bike for the most part. Then last year, I had to buy a new rear rim. So I had two rear wheels. I don't remember what was wrong with the original one I had, and then I had swapped over the rear wheel from the other one, and I got a flat tire, and I just pushed it home, and the tire had been wedged into the frame, and I just kind of pushed it home, and it was dragging the wheel, and by the time I got home, I realized I destroyed the wheel by dragging it on the ground. So then I was down two rear wheels, and I needed a new rear wheel. So last year, it was hard to find a 26-inch mountain bike wheel, really, to be honest with you, especially with disc brakes, because everybody's got 27.5 and 29ers now. So it was not easy to find a 26-inch wheel of quality. And the only place I found one, and maybe if I kept looking, but I looked quite a bit. I found one on Amazon for like $100, and it looked nice, but it fit. So I bought it. I put it on. Immediately got, 3 or 4 flat tires. I knew as soon as I got it, maybe by the reviews, that the holes for the spokes, for the nipples, were too sharp. and the rim strip sucked, and so you get flat tires. And so I said, no big deal. I'll buy it anyway. I'll deburr the holes and whatever. And so I used their rim strip, which was a mistake. And but I still got a flat tire. I still got a couple flat tires. But then it turned out, I realized after, that it wasn't the holes for the spokes. It was the seam of the wheel that was actually cutting into the tube. And so I filed that down and improved the deburr and put some Gorilla Tape instead of the rim strip. And that worked for the rest of the year. And then when I went to ride it this year, the freewheel was entirely seized. Not good on a practically brand new rim. Total poor quality. Horrible deburring, lack of deburring. Horrible rim seam with a sharp edge. Killed multiple tubes. Wasted a ton of time. The name of the wheel, I can see it from here. No, I can't. That's the new one. Anyway, Bucklos, I think it was. In any case, the clutch had broken in the Bafang motor after all those miles pulling a heavy guy around. The clutch had begun majorly slipping, and so I had to replace that. Ordered parts for that, and when I went to take it apart, I was unintentionally taking the wrong side cover off. Realized that, put that side cover back on, took the correct side cover off, replaced the clutch, put it all back together, went to ride it, and the motor didn't work anymore. And I said, oh no. And so when I was trying to take the wrong side cover off, I was really having to pull against something, and it was like all the screws were out. It was somewhat loose, and I'm pulling. It didn't want to come out. So anyway, I figured when I messed up the wiring when I did that, when I put it back together, maybe I pinched something or whatever. So watched a couple YouTube videos. Turns out that this is a bunch of potting or caulking or what do you call it, sty-cast, or what do they call that stuff? So anyway, so I had to take the mechanical side off again and scrape out and take the controller out, and to give me access to the backside of where the electronics side goes, and dig out all that potting. And I found out that I had pulled the one of the connectors out. And so I was happy to see that, because I just popped the connector back in, put it all back together, and now my motor was working again. And so meanwhile, this was all while my new bike was down for waiting for warranty stuff, which I just finally yesterday was able to, after a bunch of runaround, was able to order a new rear wheel with an upgraded hub from the manufacturer. And so hopefully that'll be here very soon, and I'll have that bike back up and running. But anyway, so the bike that I had been riding had a bunch of small issues, like, something small, like the motor wasn't working, the clutch was gone, the rear wheel was seized up, and and I got the new bike on the way. But now with the new bike, and the battery mount was also sort of the way those batteries, I mean, it's a pretty good battery design. I'm very happy with it. But the mount for it, the Jumbo Shark mount, and it's probably the same as the Shark mount, which I have on the new bike, it has a second battery with the Shark mount. And I'll have to compare those, see if they fit. I think they don't. I think they don't fit. But anyway, so the mounting strip on the Shark mount, it's pretty cheaply made. Like, a lot of it's really well designed, but that part is pretty poorly designed for off-road use, because the stresses just break the thing out. And so what I'm making here is carbon reinforced nylon insert. So I actually use my CR Scan Ferret, which is a new low-cost scanner, to scan both the bike frame and the battery mount bar. The scans, neither of them came out perfect, but they were useful enough. And actually, the long straight part of the battery mount, I actually just measured that primarily with calipers and built the insert in there to fit it. But I did use the scans to match the hole spacing that's in my frame. And I say it that way because it had the two screw holes for mounting the water bottles, which is fine. But a battery weighs a whole lot more than a water bottle. I mean, what's a water bottle weigh? 3 pounds? Whereas this battery probably weighs 15 or 20 pounds. So, so I wanted more than two screws there when I built the bike. So I I drilled and inserted some riv nuts in there, but I wasn't super precise about the spacing because they gave you a lot of leeway. It's like slotted on the battery mount, so it wasn't critical. Except now when I go back, I don't have uniform hole spacing. So what I did is I used the scanner to bring in the scan of the hole spacing into the CAD file, and then I aligned my hole spacing. So you can see these hole spacings are non-uniform. They're just matching a whole bunch of holes that I put in my frame. But I could adjust those holes to fit whatever spacing, or even make them slotted. Interestingly, this infill pattern is like boxes. It's supposed to be X's, but the part is rotated 45 degrees in order to fit on the build plate, and so the infill is coming out as boxes. Less than ideal, but we'll be fine, I suspect. So, in any case, this... once I print this insert, then so what I was doing was my battery, I just had these Velcro straps holding my battery on, and it would slip up and down and side to side, and I was always repositioning it, and it's really a pain. I mean, it's really not a pain, but it's just, it's not smart, and it's probably eventually going to fail horribly with, you know, my ending in my battery getting wedged in the crank or something, who knows. And so this should be a nice solution to securely grab the battery from the mount. Now, I am also a fan of straps around it as a secondary thing, and I will also do that. My original thought was to make, like I've seen, what's the website? I've seen, there's one place where you can buy these sort of loop mounts that mount to your water bottle screw, and then has a strap that goes around the frame and around the battery. Like ebikes.ca, or it's that guy that does a whole lot of it's got a whole lot of tools like range calculator, but he's a big hub drive advocate, which I'm a big mid drive advocate, but he does have a lot of knowledge. Definitely, he shows some arguments on the website why hub drive is so much better than mid drive, but some of his logic is quite flawed, and if he's obviously not off-roading, because anyway, I won't go too much into that. I feel like I'm going a little long-winded, but that's fine. It's printing, so who cares? Now, it says we're 12 minutes into the video. Maybe the print started 5 minutes before I started the video because I was messing with the camera mount. But as you can see, this is a nice, clean print. Doesn't seem to be any lifting. I forgot to put a brim. I probably would have put a brim if I had thought to. Although the slicer has a setting called auto brim, and usually it doesn't print a brim when I do that, but sometimes it does. So I guess it depends on the material and maybe the geometry, where it's quote unquote auto brim. Maybe it decides if it needs a brim and how much of a brim. I don't know, but it decided in this case that it did not need a brim. But it is printing nicely, and I am really looking forward to using this to mount my my battery. What else can I talk about before I'll probably go offline? I don't want to sit here and talk for the whole time, but I figure I'll record the whole thing. It's less than an hour, and if anybody wants to speed it up to get through any of it faster, they can. But if they want to see the detailed build, the full build, they could also watch that. But you can, if you're not aware of it, you can play YouTube videos faster. You can multiply the play speed to watch them quicker, I believe. So you have that option. So I'm not going to speed it up. You can speed it up, or you can watch it full speed. Full speed. What else can I touch on? Well, before I put the mic down, I'm going to put the mic down and go make myself some food on my griddle, which is the best ever. So let's see. This is, if I didn't mention, it is who makes this? Sane Smart, 25% carbon filled nylon. Sane Smart also makes a 15% carbon filled nylon. For some reason, it's twice the price, and this is already expensive. I want to say this was like $65 for a kilogram. I want to say the 15% is $65 for half a kilogram. So, you're not going to use this for every print, but if you need a strong part, I think this is probably the way to go, and I'll confirm or or not after I get some miles on it, but I suspect that I'm going to plug this in into my adapter, and it's going to make things very strong and be very durable. That's my plan, and I will report back. If anybody has any questions about this or about e-bikes or about printing or about the K1, obviously this is the Creality K1, if it wasn't obvious, that's what I'm printing on. Super fast printer, very high quality prints, very happy with it. Gets a few errors here and there. It is a brand new machine, and it's like I bought it the day it went on pre-release. I ordered it, and I see other people now trying to order it, and they're saying it's still on pre-order. I was like, well, I don't know. I was for sale. It was I bought mine, but I see that now, and then I saw that you could actually buy the K1 Max, which is the bigger one with more bells and whistles, which I would have bought in the first place, but this one was available earlier. But now they're both on pre-order again. So, or actually, no, this one's on pre-order, and the Max says back order. So you can't even order it yet. And then it says you can select notify me and put in your email and tell you when it's available again. But anyway, the point is there will be some bugs to work out, as it's a new, it's a brand new, quite innovative design. They're not necessarily pushing the envelope. People, it's funny, the Bamboo Labs fanboys are all, oh, they stole Bamboo Labs design. Bamboo Labs really kind of stole Foron design, right? Yeah, no, maybe. It's Core XY with input shaping. This is not something that Creality invented, and it is not something that Bamboo Labs created. Now, yes, Bamboo Labs, the X1 Carbon with the multi-material, that looks awesome, other than I've heard some rumors about very intrusive app/cloud. I don't know how true that is. I've heard somebody deny it, but I've heard it said that you can't just use a thumb drive to transfer your G code from your, to transfer from STL to G code to your printer, that you actually have to send the file through the cloud, basically through China servers, and so all of your designs go through China. So I hate when tech companies get extremely intrusive like that, and it's a big turnoff to me. And so I do like that this printer does a great job, and I can just run it off my thumb drive, and no information has to go through, no designs have to go through China to make it 50 feet from my office to my print shed. Okay, I don't need to send it to China. Now, please, somebody correct me if that is incorrect. It was somebody said in a YouTube video that they didn't like that about the Bamboo, and I posted that, and somebody else said, no, that's not true. But I've not seen 100% convincing one way or another. So I'm curious, because I actually might buy that Carbon, Bamboo Labs Carbon. That seems like an awesome machine due to the multi-material and stuff. Seems like a great way to go. I did not put supports under these screw heads, and I thought it would print fine. It is not necessarily looking fine, so I may have to reprint this with some support material in there. So what did I do? I printed it. Yeah, I printed it upside down. So the holes for the screws are counterboard, and I didn't, and they're basically thread end pointing up in the print, head down to the base plate, and so these counterbore floors are looking a little ugly, and I may have to reprint it with some supports, unfortunately. Not a big deal. It's only $65 a kilogram. All right, it's a little bit of a big deal. But not the end of the world. We'll see how this works, and with my track record, it'll probably be good enough, and I'll probably use it as is. Although it's not very confidence inspiring. Yes, it is confidence expiring right now. It is confidence expiring right now. It is not confidence inspiring right now to see these the floors of these counterbores being goofy, and obviously have to clean up the holes to get the screws through them. But maybe if I'm lucky, it'll recover enough that I can drill the holes out and have it work well enough. If not, I'll just reprint it with some sports. Not a big deal. All right, we're 20 minutes into the video, probably 25 minutes into the print, and it said like 45-minute print. And that sounds about right. It's got some more features to do. Let me think of any other topics related to this. If you like these videos, please click like. Helps more people find them. Please comment. I think that also helps. It helps build a dialogue in the comment section, and I think even good or bad comments, I think also help the algorithm to steer people toward the videos. So please like and or comment, and of course subscribe would be great. I don't have a Patreon or anything like that. I don't think I'm adding that much value yet. I'm just trying to put out a lot of fairly short content. And hopefully it adds value, gives value to people, and hopefully I learn how to make more interesting and add more value to the viewers, to the point where we can get some more views and get some more dialogue in the comments and get some more likes, which all leads to more views. But ultimately, it's all about giving value to the viewers. And so please, if you have any advice on how I could add value to the viewers, that would be great. I have no sponsors, so any brand names that I mention, it's all things that I paid full price for. This printer, I paid full price. This filament, I paid full price. All my printers, I've paid full price. I also have a Creality Ender 3 S1 Pro that I've been doing some printing on. I bought a little while before I bought the K1. Had I known, I would have just bought the K1 and not this Ender. But the K1, I didn't even know the K1 was coming out. I bought the Ender, and then I happened to see, and I've wanted a Core XY for quite some time now. Actually put a deposit down on the Prusa XL some time back, maybe a year ago, maybe less than a year ago. And supposedly those will start, like when I ordered mine, said they'll likely start shipping fall of this year. Although I only put a deposit on it, so I'm not locked in. And I have this Core XY, which works pretty great, although it doesn't have the multi-material and things like that, like the Prusa, so I'm liking the look of that. But I think I heard somewhere that the Prusa XL isn't much faster than any regular printer. So the whole reason I have Core XY is for speed. So if it's not fast, then I'm not interested. So we'll see how that plays out. I expect I think there are a lot of pre-orders. So by the time my pre-order gets up in the queue, there will already be a lot of people with the machines, a lot of reviews and performance tests and things like that. So I can really decide if I do or don't want it. All right, my holes appear to be recovering, so that's good. One thing I like about Triple F/FDM printing is a lot of times a minor failure, if there's enough layers after it, will recover. And so this is a little more structurally critical, though. Most of my parts are not structurally critical. But this one is somewhat structurally critical. So hopefully it works. I think it'll work out fine. It's more of a position holder, really, because it's going to position it, and then I'm going to put like 3 Velcro straps around it and the frame anyway. And so I think those will, in combination with this, will make it very secure. And I should probably find some better strips than just Velcro, just to get some. It's tough to make Velcro strips really tight, wrapping wise, and it's sort of in tension. It's hard to put a Velcro strip in tension. I mean, I guess they kind of do, but it seems like they would slip over time, but maybe not. I'd hate to put a bungee cord on there, maybe like a ratchet strap, but ratchet straps are so bulky. I wonder if somebody makes a tiny little ratchet strap. Maybe I can, big zip ties might be good. They're a little goofy looking. Actually, I was messing with sort of similar to zip tie 3D printed design. Do I have one of these right here? Just goofing around with it, and didn't have great success, but I learned a little bit. I don't know what I did with those. Otherwise, I would show it. Let's see what's going on. There's a lot of talk of filament dryers and keeping your filament dry. I've often thought that that's way overblown, especially with PLA. Like I've let PLA just sit out for months and months and months, and just print it, and it prints fine. I've printed with PLA, PETG, nylon, carbon reinforced nylon, polypropylene, TPU, TPE, polycarbonate, ABS, ASA. Did I say ASA already? Tallman, whatever that stuff is, Tallman T, whatever it was. I've printed with a lot of different materials, and I find that mostly that I don't have a problem with moisture. I do tend to, like my PETG and PLA, I do not put in dry bags or dry boxes. My more sensitive filaments, I tend to, historically, I have these vacuum bags, and I'll put a silica pack in the bag, and I'll put it in the bag, and I'll vacuum pack it. I mostly do that. Although, since I got this printer, I've kind of just had my various filaments out in the atmosphere, and in the ambient atmosphere, and it's late spring here in New England. It's not super. It's not exactly Arizona. It's not super dry. It can get, especially when it rains, it can get very humid, especially in my shed here. And I don't think I have any problems with moisture-related problems, especially as most of the prints come out just about perfect. Although I'm holding this spongy TPU benchy. This is funny. This was TPE. I think this was the first one I tried to print, and I just did a super high speed on this printer just as a joke to see what would happen. And the thing was flopping all over the place as it was printing. It was pretty funny, but it completed. I mean, it's a full benchy. It was really just more of a joke than anything to let it finish. I found that with this is actually Ninja Flex. If you can hear a little girl screaming in the background, I don't have a child torture camp going on. That's people next door having a cookout. So I found that now printing this stuff, this is Ninja Flex by Ninja Tech, Ninja Flex. I looked it up, and I think it looks like it's an 85A durometer, but that's just going by what their website says, not by the actual package that I bought. So I'm not sure. And this does not say. Oh, it's only half a kilogram. Yeah, the sticker doesn't say the durometer. I also have a couple other TPUs that are much stiffer. This stuff is quite flubbery to print. It's not super stretchy like silicone, but it's pretty stretchy, but not like the other stuff. The TPU stuff is much more solid than this. But anyway, on this stuff, I find that I experimented with, because it's very under extruded, and so I was experimenting with 133% flow rate, 200% flow rate, and they all still come out a little spongy like this. But I find the 200% flow rate on that TPE gets it much more appropriately extruded. I'm not sure exactly why that is, what dynamic causes that, but it probably has something to do with the material being so soft. It just probably compresses in the extruder drive, the hob gears or whatever, upstream of the heat break. And so I think you just have to just kind of jam a lot more material through into the inlet to allow the proper amount to actually make it all the way through. So, all right, we're 30 minutes in here, and who knew that I could talk for 30 straight minutes when I have no script and wasn't even sure what I was going to talk about, but I'm not surprised because I do it all the time. I get on phone calls with clients, and I try to shoot for an hour, and they usually half hour to an hour, and if I get the wrong person on a call, they can go an hour and a half, 2 hours, which is not good, except for the clients paying me by the hour, so then that's okay. But anyway. So yes, I just talked for 30 minutes straight. My intent was to talk for about 5 minutes and then put the microphone down and just let you watch. But I evidently find plenty of things to talk about. Do I have anything else to talk about? Oh, I did buy a food dehydrator, a big round food dehydrator, so I can dry filament if I need to. Since I was talking about filament dryness, but I find that that's way overblown. I rarely pull out this filament dryer, and I don't recall having problems with, like, for example, I mean, this is an ASA part, and it actually printed about 10 inches tall, this profile. It later cracked, but you can see, I mean, that's a super nice print. Very few defects, if any. And that was at super high speed on this. Well, not super high speed, 300 millimeters per second. Nice, clean print. This is ASA, super clean. Let's see what else I have. And like I say, have not dried that ASA material. It's just sitting out in the open in my shed. Geez, all my benchies are in the house except for this one I'm holding in my hand. So I don't really have anything for an example to show. Maybe I'll go, I'll go grab a couple benchies and we can see how much the not drying anything has affected my quality. I will be right back. Wow, this print is looking almost done. All right, yeah, 33 minutes into the video, and I probably started 5 or 10 minutes after the print started, so I guess that makes sense. I think it said like 40-something minutes estimated. But in any case, we're talking about moisture. Excuse me, I need some moisture. I need to drink some moisture instead of all this coffee. But I'm going to take a sip of coffee anyway. I should drink some water. Don't see any handy. All right, so this was a PLA benchy done on this printer. Settings right out of the box. I didn't tweak anything. High speed print, 300 millimeters a second, high speed, but quite clean. I broke the bottom layer off because instead of scraping it off, I tried to pull it off. My own mistake. But I don't see any evidence of moisture being any kind of problem. And this PLA has sat in my shed at least since last year. Made it through the winter, through the spring, through the fall. This filament is at least 6 to 12 months old. This filament has been around a long time. Just PLA. I think it's actually a color changing filament, like a gradient style, but it's such a small print that it doesn't show up in gradient. But I mean, look that's like perfect. I can't imagine if I dried the filament if it's going to be any better than that. So that's PLA. No surprise there. I think PLA is known to be hydrophobic, hydrophobic. I don't know. Anyway, one of them means doesn't absorb water. Here is this is the same. No, this is this is nylon, Overture Easy Nylon, not carbon filled. But I see no evidence there of any moisture. Although this filament is actually this has been around and I think already opened for a long time, but I had it sealed in a in a vacuum bag with silica gel. Was it this one or so? They have the two nylons, and I think one was already open and one was not already open. So I can't say for sure that this one was already open and then repackaged, but I definitely did not dry it before I printed, and I see no evidence of moisture damage there. Let's see if I have any other ones. Oh, here's a TPU one I did the other day. And this TPU, how new is this TPU? I think I had opened it last year. I'm not sure. It's ugly at the bow because that's the nature of a benchy. But I don't see any like blobs that indicate moisture to me. I could be wrong. Obviously, there's some ugliness going on to this print, and also black is not super cooperative with cameras. But I don't see I see a lot of fairly decent surfaces at the non-challenging portions that indicate to me that, again, moisture not a problem on this print, I believe. And I'm just letting that cool. I see that it's done. I'm gonna open the door and let it cool. See if I have any other interesting benchies. I don't have like benchies for everything, to be honest. But I just recently started saving some benchies. Once I got the K1, like this is my fourth printer. I went through 3 printers, never saved a benchy in my life. But all right, so this is ASA, and I believe this has been opened for a year or more. And I see no, although I believe it was stored in a vacuum bag with silica gel. But I think this is a beautiful, other than a little bit of banding, I see no moisture issues here. Again, not drying any of my filaments and not even storing the PLA or PETG properly. That's just another PLA. Oh, and that was on the, that was on my S1 anyway. It's all busted up. This is, I think that's on the Ender. That's probably from the Ender. And I think these are all just from the Ender, the rest of them. In any case, I think that print has cooled down a little bit. So let's tie this, let's wrap this up. Use my old plastic spatula. Find it a very good way to not damage my bed. Look at that. It appears to not have warped. So look at that. How does the bottom layer look? Bottom layer looks nice and smooth. Very few, very minor defects. Can I do something with this light here? I don't know why what that shadow is. Oh, it's because of the built-in light. It's messing with it. All right, but you can see here, very nice first layer. Nearly perfect first layer. Very little glue residue, so I did a pretty good job with that. I try to put minimal glue, but the glue really works. So you can see the counterbore floors are a little ugly, and I'll have to just run a drill bit through those, but that's not a big deal at all. It's looking very, very solid print. Very clean everywhere. Like, I don't know how well that comes through, but nice crisp edges, and other than a couple little strings hanging off, very rarely. And I think some of those were like, because I didn't support these counterbore hole floors and printed it upside down, I think just a couple of those strings popped out and landed on the other surface, and that's why there's defects on those surfaces. I could probably just snip some of that out. And but all in all, pretty happy with this print. And I don't think I'll need to reprint it. I think I will just drill those holes out, and I expect they'll work great. And I'll report back, and maybe I'll do a quick video from our trail showing how it mounts, or maybe I'll show mounting it or whatever. But I'm going to end this video for now. If you enjoyed it, if you liked it, please like it, and comment, ask any questions, any requests, anything you'd like to see printed, anything you'd like to see designed, any custom design work you need. That's what I do for a living. I'm doing 3D CAD design for 25 years for basically for manufactured components for some of the most discriminating industries, military support equipment, aerospace, spacecraft components, Hall effect thrusters, some structural analysis, all kinds of good CAD stuff, SolidWorks, Rhino, Grasshopper, so I can do some advanced Grasshopper work if you need something really, really cool looking. But anyway, see you in the next one.